Cheat days are something which is constantly being pushed around in the fitness industry. I've seen this from fitness influencers and also from celebrities. You see Dwayne Johnson talks about this quite a lot, and just a lot of other celebrities just push the fact that if you're sticking to a diet for 6 days of the week, you can have one day where you just eat whatever you want. And you can go out, you can have cheeseburgers, you can have cake, you can go drink alcohol, and you don't have to worry about anything. Because for those first 6 days of the week, you adhere to your diet. And the reality is that this is really going to set you back and it's really going to backfire. And overall, you're not going to be burning any fat. You're actually going to be putting on weight if you keep implementing cheat days. So in this video, I'm going to explain why, for fat loss, cheat days just do not work at all. So the reason why cheat days don't work is because there's actually no limit to the amount of fat you can put on in one day. So there's actually an infinite amount of fat that you can put on in a single day. If you just keep eating calories and you're not tracking and you eat whatever you want for the whole day, you could put on a significant amount of fat in just that one day, and it's actually going to take a really long time to burn this off. So for example, if you think about when we were hunter-gatherers and we would go hunting for food essentially the whole day, and we would get a kill of an animal, you'd maybe eat once a day. Do you think it makes more sense for the human body to burn this fat quickly, or to have fat storages where you can hold on to this fat and use it as energy for a long period of time? It obviously makes a lot more sense for the human body to actually put this fat into fat storages and take long periods of time to burn this off. Because you'd need that energy source, and because resources were quite scarce, you would have to actually hold on to this fat for a long period of time, because you'd need it to convert to energy so that you could keep hunting, and you would only get a limited amount of food in each and every day. So the reason why this is relevant today is because it means that you can put on a lot of fat really quickly, because the human body is designed to put on fat quickly and to take a long period of time to burn it off. Because back in the day, this was really helpful for our survival. So when it comes to today, if you just eat whatever you want and you have a full day where you eat like 8,000 calories, you're going to put on a lot of fat very quickly, and your body is genetically designed to take like weeks to actually burn this fat off. So therefore, just eating whatever you want in one day is really going to backfire, because you can there's no limit to how much you're going to make, and then it's also going to be extremely hard, and it's going to take a long period of time for you to actually get rid of all of this excess fat. So if you were to think of this over the course of a week, let's say that for the first 6 days of your diet, you were in a 300 calorie deficit. So total, you were in a deficit of 1,800 calories leading up until Sunday. And then let's say on Sunday that you just decided that you weren't going to track and you were just going to eat whatever you want. So you were going to go out for lunch, you were going to eat burgers and chips all day, you were going to have some cake, or just eat sugar, have chocolate, just eat whatever you want for the day, and then go out and have some drinks in the afternoon. The reality is that it's very, very easy for you to eat 6 or 7,000 or even 8,000 calories in a day. I've probably definitely eaten at least 8,000 calories in a day before. If you're not tracking it, and if you're just eating whatever you want, and you're just binge eating on cake, on things that have high amounts of calories and low amounts of nutritional value, it's very easy to eat into this upper limit of the amount of calories you can have in one day. So if you eat 6,000 calories in one day, and let's say you only burn 3,000, that means you're in a surplus of 3,000 calories just for one single day. So therefore, even though you were in a deficit of 1,800 before this, your total for the week, you're going to be in a surplus of 1,200 calories. So that means that for the entire week, you would have actually put on fat, and you wouldn't have lost fat. And this is the scenario which a lot of people don't seem to understand, is that just being consistent for 6 days in a row, it's going to make you progress. But then you can't just have that one day where you eat whatever you want. Because having more days where you adhere to your diet, and then having one day where you don't adhere to your diet, doesn't still mean that you're going to be in a deficit. Because there's no actual limit to how many calories you can have in that one day and how much fat you can put on. So even if you're consistent for 6 days in a row, if you have that one day where you completely blow it all off, overall for the week, you're still going to be in a calorie surplus, and therefore you're actually going to put on a lot of fat. So what I like to do instead of having a cheat day where you just eat whatever you want is you can just have one day where you eat at maintenance. So for example, if your maintenance was around about 3,000 and you knew that you were going out with your friends later in the day, you knew that you were going to go out and have a few drinks and you were going to go out to eat, I would just make sure that I keep my calories quite low beforehand throughout the day. So instead of just eating whatever you want for the whole day, I've realized that, yeah, I'm going to be going out later on. So beforehand, I just have a really small meal and try and keep my calories low. So for example, if you were going out for dinner, normally if you have dessert and you have a main meal and then you also have a few drinks, that could be around 2,000, 2,500 calories. So therefore, if I was eating 2,000 calories or so on my night out, I would therefore just make sure that I was only eating 1,000 calories beforehand. So I would also make sure that the nutritional value was high. I would eat things like potatoes, which have a high satiety index, and I would eat things that are going to make me full off less calories. So if you can just do this and have a day where you just eat up to your maintenance and you kind of work your calories around going out and having that meal where you're not tracking or anything and you're not adhering to your diet, but you've structured your day so that overall you're just going to be at maintenance or maybe slightly above. Therefore, it means that for the whole week, you're not going to undo all of the progress you've made, and you're not just going to completely damage all of this progress you've made and put on a ton of fat in that one day. And you're actually going to be able to structure it so that even though for that day, you're not going to be in a deficit, overall for the week, you're still going to be in an overall deficit, and therefore you're going to continually keep losing fat. So this is a strategy which I use, which works really well. Just have that one day where you eat at maintenance and structure your calories around this so that you can fit it in, so that you can have that big meal and it doesn't completely blow over and you don't put on an excess amount of fat. One last point to mention is that if you have a sustainable diet which is actually enjoyable, then you're not going to actually need to have a cheat day. So for example, so many people do super strict diets like keto, carnivore, and they go on excessive amounts of calories deficits, like 500 or 600 calorie deficits per day. If you do this, what's going to happen is your body's just going to constantly be craving food non-stop, and your cravings are just going to continually increase and work up as you adhere to this diet. And what happens with the human body is that you have willpower, but you've got a finite reserve of willpower. So eventually, if you have a diet which isn't fun and isn't enjoyable to stick to, you're eventually just going to crash out, and you're just going to have these days where you eat 5, 6, 7,000 calories per day and you put on a ton of fat. So the way to actually avoid having these days where you have cheat days, which you think you need to keep dieting, instead, you could just have a diet which is in a very small calorie deficit, but you know you can stick to this for the rest of your life. So if there's something that's just non-negotiable for you, like a little bit of chocolate at the end of the day, you can still fit this in, but then just fit this in so that you're still in a slight calorie deficit and you structure your calories a little bit better throughout the day so that this isn't going to put on any fat for you and you're still going to be in a calorie deficit. So if you can actually structure your diet in a way that you find enjoyable, that's still healthy and is sustainable, then you're not going to have these periods or these days where you feel like you need to binge eat and you feel like you need to just have a complete cheat day to recover from your diet. Instead, make it enjoyable and make it something you can stick to long term, and you'll find that you can really avoid cheat days and it's going to be a lot easier to stick to your diet and to continually lose fat.